Well, welcome everyone. We're doing another tier list video. I know it's been a little bit since we've done the last one. Um, in season 9, as you all know, we had a massive overhaul to the team up system. We also had a rework, a new character, so there was too much information to boil it down to a tier list at that moment, in my opinion, because the meta was ever shifting. Basically, we had about 3 or 4 meta shifts throughout the season that was reflected in how pro play also played out, and we also had the Ignite final season. So, in my opinion, it was much better to rather than make a prescriptive tier list that would tell you what to play, what was good, to leave the meta to shape on its own with the player base in mind, and to see how the pro players use the brand new systems and the new characters that got introduced. The meta has settled now. We've had 2 whole patches now with the team up system, which means we know what's really good, we know what's really bad, and we figure out some of the main shifts in the meta. The number one thing that is quite noticeable is the meta has shifted staunchly from something like full dive that we had before the team up change to a full front to back quote unquote brawl comp because we don't really have true brawl. It's mostly just front to back with some off angling characters that are still viable. So that obviously is going to shape which tanks are strong, which DPS are strong, and kind of supports, but that's a whole other can of worms. Um, so while I'm not going to have a full focus on the team ups. I am going to mention them when relevant, and almost for each of the characters, I'm gonna suggest what team up you should be using and why it makes the character better than what they were before. The setup of the tier list is going to be the exact same. The only thing I added is a tier that's called weak in the meta. Mostly just to differentiate some of the picks. And besides that, we're gonna do tanks, supports, DPS, and it's going to be left to right in how we order them. So left is strongest, right is weakest, but it's within the role rather than within different roles. So like if I put Gambit to the or Mantis to the right side of the tier list, that doesn't mean Mantis is weaker than something like Magneto, who's going to be to the left side of it. All right, let's begin in a sort of alphabetical order here because a lot of the meta has changed. First character here is Angela, and I'm gonna put her in weak currently. She is great at supporting dive. Dive is currently weaker, so naturally Angela is going to be a little bit weaker. A lot of the characters that can deal with her harassment are strong. Magneto has the bubbles. Thing has his own uh, immobility. Um, Emma has the diamond form. Groot has his own immobility, so it's much harder for her to do something. Triple support and triple tank is also really strong, where she doesn't actually excel well in, because they can peel for each other really well. The team up with Loki is actually really nice, and on specific maps, she does have situational uses, but it's not as prevalent as before because she's much easier to counter than something else that would be in situational. Um, the Star Lord team up could be decent into some anti-dive type of thing, but I don't think she has enough tools in her kit to do that. So main team up we would be using on her is Loki, and she mainly excels on the maps that obviously favor Angela. Something like Spider Islands, for example, would be really good for Angela, and you can play her there on the Dracula map, and etc. 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 Hell's Heaven, you know the gist. Next up, we have Hulk. I think Hulk is just not in a good state at the moment. The meta is heavy front to back. Hulk does terribly into heavy front to back. He only has his bubble, so a lot of the time, you can't even utilize the value that Hulk would have, which is pressure in the backline, because the DPS and the tanks can easily poke you out before you even get there. Your bubble won't protect you strong enough, and you're just gonna get blown up. His ultimate as well doesn't really excel into the meta because a lot of the DPS that are really good right now can shred that ultimate incredibly well, and same thing goes for the tanks, and the supports can just live his dive. The Wolverine team up is really hard to utilize in this front to back style. Only possible to utilize with a Wolverine if you're going for those picks and consistently playing on that playstyle. So usually you would be using the Captain America team up for the extra bubble and then cycling your ult if it fits the team comp. However, he's really, really underpowered at the moment. Next up, Captain America. This is the biggest fall for grace. If you compare this tier list to the previous tier list, you're going to see an incredible drop off in Captain America specifically. He went from being the strongest tank in the game to now being the weakest tank in the game. The reason is the meta doesn't suit him. Like I mentioned, dive is much weaker now because front to back is much stronger. But his health bar got basically cut in half. Uh, Effectively, he got gutted. He doesn't have enough survivability, and he doesn't have enough pressure in the backline. So even if he does go into the backline, he just does not do enough. Especially with the prevalence of triple tank and triple support, peeling him off is much easier than before. As for team ups, the Thor team up, while cool, and while in some great scenario you could, in some great reality, you would go Thor and Cap and like double dive and have actual burst, the team up doesn't do enough damage to warrant it. So you would almost always you would always use the Bucky team up to actually help the dive. You can give your diver a lot of overhealth, and it helps him with his biggest issue currently, which is survivability for his playstyle. But yeah, there's no reason to pick Captain America right now. He's outclassed by every single character in the class, and he just does not fit the meta at all whatsoever. Next up, Tank Pool. Turnbull has also had a similar fall for Grace from Grace. Main reason why is his job is usually to help with the dive and pressure the backline, contest the off angles, and to create opportunities with his ultimate to try and get a pick on a support. His job isn't really, he doesn't really excel as well in front to back. And since then, Hood came out, who can actually do his job a little bit better on the off angle contest. I would say Deadpool will be better at contesting the off angle, but the Hood has much better survivability. So the Hood can just live in those backline scenarios much longer than Deadpool, and he can create way more pressure on the front line. Also, the big issue with Deadpool is the screen shake, which was completely removed basically with the Hood, which makes the Hood much more reliable, much easier to pick up and use regularly. And on top of that, like I said, his ultimate is easier to heal out in triple support, so it doesn't have as much value. But still, really well mechanically skilled players can pick up Deadpool, and he is still a staple of triple tank lineups when the Hood isn't open due to team ups and stuff like that. As for team ups for Deadpool, the Hela team up gives you more damage, obviously, but due to the upgrade route, you can start off with the Gambit one. So ideally, you would start with Gambit one, get a couple of fights going, get like 2 or 3 upgrades, and then switch to Hela and get the Hela upgrade. Or you can just rush the gun upgrade with the Hela and then start doing more damage and piercing damage that way. Next up, we have Devil Dinosaur. I think he's also situational. I've seen people underestimate the strength of this character currently. They buffed his damage recently. They buffed his percentage-based damage, which buffed his survivability now. And with damage boosts from Cloak and Dagger for the Thing, who play well into him, he can actually do a lot of damage and a lot of burst, and the Kidnap is always going to be strong because the characters that are in meta are going to be sitting down main most of the time. So if you kidnap them behind a wall, they're going to die relatively quickly because they have low mobility, because the meta currently is to quote-unquote main tanks, which are just characters that don't have high mobility, that are sitting mostly down the main line and holding that space. So Devil Dinosaur can easily disrupt that. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to get into the what is a main tank, what is an off tank. I feel like my explanation there is enough to make you understand what the point of the terminology I used was there. So yeah, Devil Dinosaur does have that strength. He does also have a weakness where he plays really poorly into the enemy DPS that are currently meta. However, that's the reason why he is put in situational. If the enemy team comp is more brawl heavy, more dive heavy, Devil Dinosaur actually has a really nice spot in there. He plays really well into the Groot, who is meta. He plays really well into the Mag, who is meta. Thing, who is meta, etc. However, Emma does shut him down really strongly, so he is a character that's relatively easy to counter. However, the enemy team isn't doing that. The character is actually going to do a lot, especially into those meta picks. As for team ups, I've seen Team Captain do a lot of stuff with the Jeff team up, but I think more consistently you're going to be utilizing the Punisher team up, especially considering the fact that Jeff is really weak currently in the meta. Next up, we have Doctor Strange. I would put him in weak. The reason why is he doesn't have enough survivability past his shield in the way Mag has his bubbles and his ultimate to sustain that front to back as well. His shield also blocks specific amount of damage and not quote-unquote infinite damage like Magneto's shield is. It does have higher uptime, but it doesn't have as much value usually, especially once you drop down. Strange plays around the shield's health, whereas Magneto plays around with the shield's shield's cooldown. On top of that, his effective range is actually brawl range. It's much closer, so characters that are longer range, like Elsa, like Bucky, can actually harass him quite well without him being able to fight back. Again, contrary to Magneto. His ultimate is also quite weak. It's easily counterable, especially with characters that are currently in the meta. Mainly Invisible Woman and Luna Snow. Both of those characters can just negate his ultimate. On top of that, similar thing goes for Gambit. So the character doesn't really have good spots. And sometimes having Strange on your team is going to be negative to your team comp because you don't have the teleport to come back. However, he does have uses if you want to aggressively early teleport on domination maps onto the enemy team and start a fight there, because really good core setups of triple support are actually quite viable. So you teleport early on a domination map, you take the space, and then you just hold it and just try to live as long as possible with a 3-3 or a 2-1-3 setup. So he does have his possibility to be used, but he is overall weak. To contrast that, we have Emma Frost. Emma's buffs that she received prior to this whole revamp of the team ups has still kept her up, which is really good. I think Emma's quite a fun character to have in the meta, and I think her pressure is really good for a tank. I think her gameplay loop is relatively interesting, so this is good that she is strong again. What makes Emma strong is, again, the pressure of the constant beam, the pressure of her crystal, and now popping it, and now with the Mantis team up, which overall is better. You actually get overhealth from that. So your main core ability gets you a lot of overhealth. And if somehow Mantis goes through bans and you run Emma with Mantis, that increases your uptime even further because you get the cooldown of your crystal much faster, and that's her main burst ability. She also plays really well into Magneto with the grab. She plays incredibly well into the thing because she just completely melts him. She plays incredibly well into Groot, all the characters that are currently really strong in the meta, meaning that Emma is obviously going to be in the meta. Luna Snow team up is good into more brawl heavy comps in a way. However, since that is not usually the meta, it's mostly poke, it's mostly front to back. The Mantis team up is just going to give you more sustainability, more survivability, and you can actually continuously ramp up your damage, especially if Mantis is on your team. So overall, Emma's really strong. Nothing really much changed about Emma Frost. She just fits the meta incredibly well. She's probably a top 3 tank currently, and there's just no reason not to pick her over anything else. Next up, we have Groot. Groot is a little bit weaker, mostly because the amount of pressure in front to back is really strong, and character like Thing does his job overall in a way better. Thing can just live so much easier and so much longer than Groot. He has the mobility to actually get in and get out of a fight. He has stronger, just as strong of a neutral, because he can knock up and prevent mobility, similar way to Groot. Doesn't break LOS, but has a damage boost to offset it and has percentage based damage. These characters kind of function similarly. That's why you don't want to usually don't want to run both of them at the same time. But the benefit of Thing is the fact that he can just live. The reason why is because they buffed the amount of overhealth he gets. He gets 150 overhealth if he's consistently hitting the enemy tanks. Add that to the fact that he has a damage negation boost on himself and damage boost on the enemy. So the actual pressure he can create every hit of the chain is just much higher. On top of that, if you have the Torch team up, your uptime during those like 10-ish seconds that the team up is active is much higher because you can hit much higher, hit at a much higher rate, which means you're consistently charging those 150 overhealth. Which, keep in mind, every time you have overhealth, you're actually doing damage to the enemy, but them doing damage to you doesn't actually build their ult charge. So that's actually really beneficial for you. And if they do too much damage, your supports can actually get their ults even quicker because you just don't die because of how much overhealth you consistently gain. And if you get under a lot of pressure, you can use your E ability, jump to your teammates, get damage negation to everybody, and keep walking. On top of that, he matches up really well with Cloak and Dagger. If properly called out, he damage boost, Cloak and Dagger damage boost, a tank just completely gets shredded and dies. So that is a big benefit of Thing in the current meta, of Groot and Thing in the current meta. So I was mostly talking about Thing, but yeah. Here's Thing, here's Groot. I already talked about both of them. Thing is just a better Groot overall. Groot still has his main value of utilizing those walls, breaking LOS, creating space. However, his ultimate is a little bit less valuable currently because characters that are meta don't really match up those ultimates as well as before. So you don't want to use Elsa and Groot together. You usually use Mag and Groot together in those comps. Mag and Groot, again, you're using two big tank ultimates to create space, to create a lot of value at the same time, so it's not as valuable unless you get a big Groot ultimate. His walls, obviously, like I said, do a lot of damage. However, if the front to back starts rolling in the enemy's favor and they start walking you back, he's quite immobile. That is why usually you would see him utilizing the Jeff team up over the Mantis team up, because of the extra survivability and kind of mobility, which is something that Groot doesn't really have. That allows him to, once his big wall is broken and he gets under pressure, he can use the Jeff team up and then get his wall cooldown back, get his immunity back, and start actually rebuilding. Another negative to the Mantis team up is it helps you as Groot build your ult quicker than anybody else on the field. However, the negative aspect of that means that your supports won't get won't get their ultimate as quickly. And with how the meta is shaping up, you as a Groot getting your ultimate early usually means nobody else can actually properly follow up on your ultimate, so the chance you get a kill and pick off of it is much lower, and you're already losing an ult cycle because you used your Groot ultimate in neutral before anybody had ultimates. You're not countering anything, you're not winning any pace battles, you're just like holding. It is decent on defense because it gives you that pseudo triple support, but without the triple support to it. As for tank, like I said, both Su's team up when Su is in your team is really good for the team brawl comp. It could be really useful in that triple tank lineup, but you usually would be using the Johnny Storm, the Torch team. So yeah, I did kind of bundle those characters two together. Hopefully, it didn't get uh, messed up during the translation. But both of the characters are really strong. They kind of fit the similar niche, which is like the big frontline tank that can just live and build up support roll charge in this front to back style. Both ultimates kind of function similarly, and etc. 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 Thing also has the benefit of being stronger into like the dive comps. So like if there's a cat on the enemy team or Daredevil or maybe even a Venom, he's going to actually do a lot more. And the consistent displacement without the wall also helps quite a bit. Next up, we have Magneto. Magneto is probably top 2 characters in the game right now, right next to Mantis. He is just incredibly impressive. There's just no reason not to pick him. Dive isn't prevalent, so the only comp that is bad against him, that he is bad into, isn't actually strong. And the things that he got since the patch with the Wanda team up is the one thing he always lacked, which is long range and consistent burst. So currently, Magneto can just sit down main, permanently live because he has a lot of overshield. Because he has a lot of health. He has a shield that blocks infinite damage and his own bubbles and bubbles for his team, so he can help out his other tank, basically being Thing, Emma, or Groot, to take even more space, be even more aggressive and sustained when they are not sustaining. So Mag doesn't need to play on the front line as much as usual. So he can put the Thing on the front line, play a little bit further back, and then trade health with them. So you basically have an infinitely cycling amount of HP between the two characters. Um, and like I said, the big weakness of his is that he needed to play in this kind of mid range. Now he has basically infinite range with the Wanda team up, and this increases his skill potential because you can do his primary, secondary, primary, animation cancel into the team up, shoot one more time, and somebody's usually dead. That burst on anybody who's contesting an off angle is really strong, and he actually builds his ult charge even quicker now, so he's actually in line with everybody else during their ult cycles. He also plays really well into every single character that is currently meta. He plays well into Gambit, well into Widow, well into Elsa, well into Bucky, well into triple support, well into triple tank. He just does really well. The only weakness that he has is that other two really good tanks, Thing and Emma, do play really well into him. But other than that, there is just no reason not to pick Magneto currently. He anchors your team really well. He supports everything really well. He plays almost into every single team comp. This character is basically must pick. He usually isn't getting banned. So if Magneto is open, you kind of have to play Magneto. Unless the enemy team is running heavy dive, which is really rare because heavy dive is really easily counterable right now. You just have no reason not to pick Magneto. He's just the best tank in slot by far, and you must pick him every single game that he's open. He just fits the meta perfectly. If the meta is front to back, Mag is going to be your best tank. It's just how the game is designed. Next up, we have Penny Parker. And sad as all of us were after seeing how broken she was during the Ignite and how TLC was picking this character every single game and building every single comp around her, we were all hoping that she got completely gutted during the recent update and changed to her web snare, but no, Penny is still really strong. Penny is still super viable. Penny still provides one of the best triple support comps. The enhanced team up, her neutral is really good at harassing a specific tank, so she can basically her web snare now. You need to hit it once, and then the second one within 5 second window is going to stun. It used to be in a 3 second cooldown, now it's effectively in a 2 second cooldown once you hit the first web snare. So, if she is targeting consistently Thing, who she has a really easy matchup into to hit consistently, she can consistently hit the Thing with a stun, negate his ability to gain that overhealth, and negate his pressure completely. With the BP team up, she finally has the ability to hold space. Usually, Penny is a space negator. She puts down her nests, puts down her webs, and she negates a specific amount of space. But she could never actually hold a space. Once her webs are down, once she is in neutral, once her mines aren't up, she actually couldn't hold space. Now with the Black Panther team up, she actually has the ability with a shield and enhanced damage, and with the ability to crit, she actually has an enhanced amount of damage and ability to hold that space. So she actually works pseudo as that main tank, as like an anchor as a holder. So that's really good for Penny in that aspect. Again, she enables really good triple support and basically makes your team kind of pseudo immortal because her healing didn't get affected as much. So if you just anchor correctly on the comp, prevent enough of team to create the space, because front to back is something where she excels in, because hitting the off angles is what counters Penny in a way. Only character that does that is Elsa, and she's the best DPS in the game. Baki can't really do that as easily, and now that she has a shield of her own, it's much harder for him to pull her, and she's usually played with a Magneto or in a triple tank comp, so she's even safer than that. And obviously, the mind picks that can just randomly happen with the setups and with people just walking into mines is obviously always going to be powerful. Once you learn those setups, once you learn the angles, and just get free picks and supports, it just bleeds so much time and so much space from the enemy team that you just automatically have a much higher chance of winning because they have less time elimination and less space on convoy and convergence. Next up, we have Rogue. She did receive slight buffs recently, but I do not think this is enough. This character used to be really, really strong, and now she's basically back to being only viable in Gambit games, but I don't think she is strong enough where that viability in those Gambit games is actually going to be relevant whatsoever. Her damage output is not as high as some other tanks, and her survivability is no longer as strong as some other tanks. Her ability to poke is also non-existent. She needs to brawl, she needs to be in somebody's face, and then who is she going to be brawling? Am or Thing? No, she loses those matchups. So like she needs to go on an off angle, she needs to fight people to contest those off angles, and there's characters like the Hood and the Deadpool that just do that job much, much better. And Penny again negates just as much space. Everything that is really good in the meta doesn't suit Rogue, and she doesn't actually benefit anything in the meta. Next up, we have the brand new character, which is the Hood. I was debating making him meta defining, but purely due to his ability, his team ups. His team ups are so prevalent in the game, with Cloak and Dagger, making her incredibly, incredibly oppressive, with a 47% damage boost on her Veil. The character is just really strong, really, really strong. His damage itself is kind of awkward. He doesn't have high burst, he has high consistent damage. And if you cycle his demon form consistently, he's going to have a lot of damage and a lot of overall pressure. He also doesn't die. This character does not die. He has an immunity bubble around him. He has a veil which negates damage. He has a banish on a tank, which is really good, for repositioning. Has self lifesteal and self sustain. And with the Wanda team up, he also has a teleport. With a Moon Knight team up, he's a shield. I think both of the team ups are very viable. I think Moon Knight is good in neutral and front to back. Wanda is better for off angles and for ult plays. Character is really good. I think he's healthy for the game. I think he might need slight tuning, but in my opinion, I feel like you can just leave the character as is, and I think he's going to be healthy for the game overall. There's no issue with the Hood, other than the fact that his release skin is kind of mid. He enables Jubilee, he enables Magic, and he enables Cloak and Dagger to actually be strong, viable characters. Prior to his release, Jubilee was one of the worst characters ever released. She was basically useless and effectively a throw pick. Now, with the consistent Hood team up, she actually has pressure, so her damage actually matters. Because before, her damage was just an old battery for the enemy team, because she couldn't consistently keep it up. Now she can, so the pressure, especially with the Hood's pressure, actually creates some space and creates some damage on the front line. And her ultimate charges really, really fast, so you get it usually first, And that's why you see the Hood in a triple tank setup. So you go Magneto, you go Thing, you go Hood, you go Elsa, you go Cloak and Dagger, you go Jubilee. This comp is quite oppressive, quite strong, really good on convoy maps, for example, or convergence maps like Clintar. So you just sit there, you build really quick Jubilee ult. None of the tanks can actually fucking die, so you just walk in and just take the point with the Jubilee ultimate. Cloak and Dagger provides enough damage boost, as does Jubilee, as does the Thing, so you can actually kill stuff. So yeah, really, really strong stuff in terms of the front to back. I think the character is healthy for the game. I think the character is well designed, and I think he isn't as strong enough to be meta defining. Because if you are picking raw Hood in 222, he is actually outclassed by stuff like Emma, Thing, Groot, alongside the Magneto, who's a must pick, and the support that he is enabling are actually really weak without him. So he basically enables characters to be viable in the game. So there's 3 characters now that are viable, and it actually has that um, synergistic aspect of team ups, which wasn't really brought with this big update, where I do need X for Y to be good. Usually the X is really good on its own, right? So usually for Thing, for Magneto, for Emma, for Groot, for Penny, for every single character on the list so far, you actually don't really, besides Rogue, you don't really care if the other character is on the team. You just pick the better team up and it actually enhances your character. With the Hood, with Cloak and Dagger and Jubilee, you actually make the character from really bad to really viable. So building team comps around that is actually quite healthy. Next up, Thor. I'm going to push him from really weak to weak. The main reason why I'm pushing Thor here is because he is a fat DPS and triple tank is really good. So he adds to the ult charge situation, and he does have damage. He has displacement. He can really bully Magneto really well. He can bully the Hood. He can beat the Hood and contest him on off angles. He can bully some other characters that are weaker in the meta. If this tier list was basically flipped, Thor would actually be better because he counters dive really well. He plays into dive because he's like one of the best role characters. So he plays into dive really, really well, but into this front to back, he plays really poorly. His ultimate is the big issue holding him back. Thor does not have an ultimate that is viable in this meta. It's just there's just no reason to pick Thor due to his ultimate. Like you just don't have anything for the ult cycle. You're playing purely for the neutral. But he is still the king of 1v1s. Any off angle 1v1, he can just win it. He's good at marking characters like Black Cat and Daredevil, especially now that Daredevil is weaker. So he actually has a place in the meta in those triple tank comps, similar to Deadpool, but he's weaker. Similar to the Hood, but he's weaker. So like he doesn't have the peak strength that those characters have, which makes him even weaker in a meta that already doesn't suit him. The reason he isn't really weak is because he, unlike Rogue and Hulk, he actually has some carry potential. Because in neutrals, getting those picks and countering dive is actually really good for climbing and getting better in rank. Next up, we have Venom. Uh, I'm debating putting him in strong and mediocre. The swing cooldown change, I really hope they're reverted. It's not what Venom needed. It just breaks his regular gameplay loop. It reduces the time he can actually be active, reduces the time, increases the time for him to set up, makes the gameplay loop so much less fun. This is the same thing they did for Black Panther. Increased his cooldown on his main mobility ability, which means that you're basically neutering the character and making his downtime worse. So instead of making the character more interactive, reducing his overhead health or anything like that, reducing the amount of iframes he gets after his slam, so you can react to his slam quicker and displace his initial engagement. What they have done is just reduced his uptime, which is actually not going to solve the issue. Lower level players are still going to struggle with Venom because once he slams, they can't deal with him. That's their issue. They don't know how to properly time the cooldowns. They don't know how to properly utilize anything. That's why he reduces total overhealth that he gains when he is diving, so that his staying power is lower. You reduce the ult charge that the Phoenix team up provides, so he doesn't actually have a lot of damage, and on top of that, gets his ult really quickly, so he doesn't cycle his ultimate quicker. You reduce his CC immunity on the slam, so that you can displace him quicker. So once he slams, you aren't immediately in trouble, right? Because he doesn't have that like ability to instantly use something. Um, you don't just reduce the cooldown, or increase the cooldown on his dash, because that breaks his cycle. His abilities are on a specific cooldown cycle. The slam is 8 seconds, the grasp is 8 seconds, the swing is 8 seconds, and the overhealth, the E, is 16 seconds. So naturally, it is slam, right click, E, shift out, and then your slam is back up. You can slam, grasp, shift immediately because your cooldowns are in a proper cycle. With 10 seconds, that breaks that cycle completely. It it's just not a healthy change to the character. It just kind of effectively kills dive, aside from one character that is like super self-sufficient. However, with all of that in mind, he is the only viable dive tank in the game currently. Every single other dive tank is bad. So by nature of that, he kind of is strong in the meta, quote unquote. So you can kind of put him strong in the meta purely because of the fact that he is the only viable dive tank. However, I'm going to put him mediocre because the meta is not dive, the meta is front to back. But if you need to contest specific angles, you are going to pick Venom. But in high elo, it's just not going to be viable because healers are going to be self-sufficient enough, and the off angles are going to be protected enough to where Venom is just not going to be good. If you do catch his swing, he is just going to die. He doesn't have anything to do now, especially with the other nerfs that he received. And he can't hit with anybody else because other characters are just much weaker. That would be your tank tier list currently. Um, it is relatively uniform. So, like, as you can see, we have some characters in strong, some characters in weak tier. I would like the weaker characters like Hulk, like Cap, like Thor, like Angie to get something to bring them up in that meta. Meanwhile, I want Thane nerfed. I want Magneto to stay the same, kind of, because he's benefiting mostly from the meta, but you can touch something about it. But I wouldn't touch Magneto. It's just kind of how the character is. And probably nerf Penny more. Keep the hood the same. Revert that change to Venom, please. Next up, we are going to talk about supports. Um, First off, we have Adam Warlock. We all know that Adam Warlock is a triple support merchant. Naturally, this character is going to only be played in triple support. However, 3-3 is getting to be more prevalent in ranked because we see it more in Ignite, so people are actually catching up on it and actually using this character. Soulbound team with Storm is actually kind of really good. You just walk at the enemy team, take the space. You can do it for domination maps. You set up with your 3-3 or 2-1-3. You storm team up Adam. You boost everybody on your team to walk forward, not take any damage, take the space, and just take the point, and then reset up on the point. It's really strong. Obviously, the res is really good. Triple support is always going to be strong, so Adam's always going to be strong. I also think the Ultron team up is decent in terms of having more healing. So if you're in a situation where, I don't know, Mantis, Gambit, Loki are banned, you run something like Rocket, Ultron, Atom, which isn't the greatest, but you can kind of run it. You would rather use Invis there than Atom, so you can maybe, it's hard to get the enhanced version of it. But the extra shots is better, the extra healing is better, so he's a healing bot in that situation. But you want the more damage oriented one. So Storm team up is usually going to be the stronger one overall. But Adam, the Ultron team up has his own uses. Next up, Cloak and Dagger. I'm gonna put her in meta defining, but like I said, she's only this strong purely off of the Hood team. So if Hood is not in the game, you don't pick Cloak and Dagger. She's really weak, right? The Hood team up. Why is it so strong? Well, because the veil that she puts up, both healing and damage veil, gives your teammates 15% damage boost, which is really strong. That's better than Mantis. She has two of those veils. They stay up. People can walk through them, and the meta is front to back. So you're just standing on top of each other, walk in front, walk in back, and she just boosts people up. And the damage team up, that team up, on top of her regular damage boost, is 47% damage. So let's say I damage boost my thing, who damage boost as well. I have 60% damage boost on top of one target, and my Elsa just hits them and they just blow up and die. So that's why the character is really, really good. She also always builds her ultimate quickly. She has decent survivability into dive. She's quite good at being self-sufficient. The only weakness of this character currently in the meta is her burst healing is low. So in a triple support team comp, she actually excels even more than in a 2-2-2. But she's still viable in 2-2-2 because of the splash healing from her bubble. And the fact that her healing well also gives that damage boost is another reason that she actually still keeps that pressure. So you're basically more so playing for the pressure than the healing sustain of the character. Next up, heal pool. I would say do not pick this character. Um, the only team viable for him is the Gambit one. The Hela one isn't actually viable. It's not really strong. His sustain is not good. His ultimate is not good compared to other characters. There's just no reason to pick him right now. There's way too many supports that just occupy that top spot, and there's better characters than him in terms of that support utility, an ultimate utility, to where just he's just not viable to pick right now. On top of that, he is a hit scan healer, meaning he is a single target healer without his abilities up, which means that he can't heal multiple people in a front to back comp where both of your tanks are kind of stand up each other, where triple tank is really good, means that he isn't actually going to be able to create enough pressure by healing a lot of targets at the same time, something that Invisible Woman, Rocket, Loki can all do, right? So that's the main weakness of the character. On top of that, for Cloak and Dagger, do not use the Luna team up. It's just not good. It makes you a non-entity in the game. The team up is just not good for Cloak and Dagger, the Luna one. If you're talking about Cloak and Dagger, the Luna team up is not good. It makes you a non-entity on the map. It just completely CCs you, which means everybody else on your team is not getting the pressure that they need. Your bubble is more than enough, and your hood team up is, and your fade is enough. The hood team up is always better, and if you don't have the enhanced hood team up, do not pick this character. There's no reason to pick her. Unless they're running a really, really heavy dive, then you can run Luna Snow team up. But even into solo dive, like a Venom or a Cat or a Daredevil solo, do not pick it. It's not worth it. It's not valuable. Next up, Gambit. I am debating putting him from must pick to meta defining. I think the character is really strong still. I think the nerf to the team up with Magneto that recently happened is actually relevant enough to where he isn't just a pop the team up on yourself and you're immortal anymore, or doesn't create as much space. I don't think he is a must ban. I think you can let him through and play him more. I think you can play around him more. I think other defensive ultimates can actually sustain enough. I think if you run a triple support comp with like a Mantis, Loki, Ultron, or Rocket, something like that, for example, or maybe Invis, you can actually just sustain and live that Gambit ultimate without needing it. I don't think it's a necessary ultimate on defense. On offense, it's a lot stronger. It still does the same Gambit stuff, but I don't think the character is as oppressive as he used to be, and I think he overall is relatively healthy for the game. The only issue right now with him, I would increase the healing of the ultimate, decrease the ult charge generation of the ultimate, which would make him a little bit more in line, because the only big value of him is he kind of breaks the old cycle of triple support, so you can run him with Mantis, Loki, Gambit still, and just play off of that old cycle and just have a better old cycle. So that's kind of why you have to pick him. But if they remove that, I think the character is going to be in a perfect spot and just up the healing of the ultimate so people don't die through it. Overall, I think the character is really healthy, and like I mentioned, the only good team up is the Magneto team up, especially since Magneto is in every single game you play. You always have the enhanced version. It's always better. Do not pick the Jubilee one. Even with Jubilee on the team, it's just terrible. Next up, Invisible Woman, meta defining. Like I said previously, look at these characters: Magneto, Thing, Emma, Groot, Hood, even Penny, even Dino here. All of these characters are standing in front of each other, grouped up. Same goes with the Bucky, the DPS, and you can just pierce through all of them, get your ult really quickly, and your ultimate is really good to cage on offense, cage the support, cage the tank, slow everybody down, have a lot more pressure, etc., etc., etc. The pull is really strong. The self shield is obviously really strong, and the increase now that it got through the Torch new up is really strong. So naturally, the character is really strong. And obviously, defensively, it's really good because it allows you to kite from fights. This is a really good ultimate into Punisher, really good ultimate into the Gambit ultimate. You just need to play your life a little bit better, and then you just live on this character. It's really, really strong, especially in the context of triple support, because she gets her ultimate really, really quickly, and then you play around it, and then you get another ultimate, and then she builds her ultimate again quickly because of that piercing healing that she has. We saw her basically a must pick during the Ignite phase. Really, really strong character. Jeff goes in here with heal pull. I think the character is, again, do not pick this character. He's probably the worst support in the game. Doesn't have anything of value to provide. He's a good character that goes really well into dive. Dive is really weak, so he is really weak. The piercing that he has on heal is good into this front to back. However, it does have the negation of the fact that his ultimate is useless, so you don't actually get the healer ultimate. He's just taking it away from other supports. Another thing is that his team ups are kind of dive centric and really good into dive, and really good with dive, but you're not running dive. You're not running into dive, so the character is much weaker. Next up, Jubilee. She is strong only and exclusively if Hood is on her team. Otherwise, this character is terrible, and do not pick her. So the Hood team up that she has keeps her enhanced hit scan, kinda not hit scan, but like critable shots up. So her damage is much higher, her burst healing is higher, and then the big thing that Jubilee has is due to her bubbles, she builds ult insanely quickly. So you get your ult usually first, especially if you're on triple tank in the front to back setup, and you just get your ultimate, you walk, and you just win point, kind of for free. That is the big value out of Jubilee currently in the season, and you run her exclusively only with the hood. She's really good with the hood, but you only run her with the hood. Otherwise, the character is just utterly garbage. She also has decent survivability as well, so she can actually survive the cat, survive the daredevil really well, survive any other tank that pressures her, etc., etc., etc. So that is another value for her. The only big issue why she isn't higher is because her ultimate doesn't actually provide any utility. Cloak and Dagger's ultimate does damage, makes people has a lot more healing, and she can freely use the damage boost that she has. Invis has the invisibility ability and the slow ability in her ultimate. Gambit has the ult charge. Manny has the over health and the speed boost. Jubilee doesn't have real utility on her ultimates. You're not really getting any value out of the character. Next up, Loki. This is a must-pick character. You're gonna have either Mantis or Gambit or both banned, so there's absolutely no reason to not pick Loki. He's perfect in this comp. It's front to back. It's really slow. It's tank heavy. You get a lot of ult charge. Your lamps get more value. The character is also incredibly strong. He has potent healing. Now they sped up his bullets. It's much easier to hit as well. The character is just really strong. I don't know why Loki isn't picked more. The character is genuinely broken. He's insanely strong in this meta. Like Loki is the top 3 support right now and top 5 character in the game. He needs to be basically permapicked every single game. He's that strong. As for team ups, you get the Mantis team. You get one of the best team ups in the game. And if you have a Mantis on your team, it's that much stronger. So you consistently have no reason not to pick Loki because he makes your strongest character in the game even stronger. Always pick Loki. Loki is really good. If you're running Thing, Mag, Emma, Groot, Hood, anything, just pick Loki. He is really good. And now his survivability and ability to fight off dive is really strong because of the Alliance upgrade. And because you're usually running triple tank, triple support, dive isn't as prevalent, so he actually has no weaknesses basically. The only thing that's good in him is Hela and Widow on an off angle, but that can be relatively easily marked with the other characters that are currently viable in the meta, and with the triple support can just negate the amount of pressure they can create on the Loki. Loki's really good. Please always pick him. Next up, Luna Snow. Like I said, the main value from Luna Snow is the clap. Currently, she's still the strong character that she was before. Her anti dive capabilities have gotten even better because she has a self CC cleanse, which is just genuinely ridiculous. Which is mainly another thing what is keeping the character up. I think she is a little bit weaker now, though. People kind of overestimate and overstate her ability to heal a grouped up tank front line because once her clap is down, she can't pierce. The hit scan, she can only her heals stop on the first target hit, so she can't heal both Thing and Meg at the same time unless her clap is up. That's where the Flake comes in, and she still has her own value. Her ultimate is also a little bit on the weaker side, but the damage boost can help you kill through other characters. But Magneto is really good into you now, so he can kill you much more easily, etc., etc., etc. Still a bit of a give and take. Luna is still really good. There's absolutely no reason not to pick the character if she's open. You can always play her. You can always pick her. That's the big value of Luna Snow. I think she's stronger than Cloak and Dagger, obviously. And yeah, she has a lot of utility. You would usually use the Adam team up because it's on paper better, especially in triple support. However, with how broken the Fox team up is, and with the obvious reluctance to remove the self cleansing of the CC from her, she is still going to be much better used with the Fox team up. Even though the team up on paper should be worse, but it's much better because obviously we just give Luna Snow a self cleanse on any CC, which is just absolutely the most genius idea ever. Like kudos to the devs. Like Luna needs everything apparently. I'm absolutely mad that she has that because that disables Thing ultimate, that disables Strange ultimate. The big tank ultimates are basically disabled by this woman pressing one cooldown that's on a 10-second one ability that is on a 10-second cooldown. Like absolutely ridiculous. Just that needs to get nerfed, and then she can actually kind of start falling into a proper meta. Mantis. This is probably the best character in the game, and I am almost wanting to make a specific tier for Mantis. This is the most broken character the game has ever seen. more broken than Prime Gambit. This character is a must pick or a must ban, regardless if you're running triple support or 222. Because now, with the Star-Lord team up, she has some of the highest healing per second in the entire game, has a lot of damage, has the sleep, which is really good to create pressure, is now 275 as well, and her ultimate is really, really strong because she gets a lot of overhealth for everybody. People who walk can get immediate overhealth, and has a speed boost. It's just a W key button. Mantis is genuinely broken. She breaks the most regular idea of a support cycle because she has enough damage and damage boost to create enough pressure from your team to not lack damage in the triple support lineup. However, now she also has enough healing to substantiate that as well. So you're not lacking on healing for picking her. You're not lacking on damage for picking her. You're not lacking anything for picking her. She enables some of the strongest, most oppressive team comps in the game. Her team up with Star-Lord makes her healing some of the strongest healing in the game, most consistent healing, and her damage paired up with any of the strong DPS, any of the other damage boosts that we keep talking about, so like cloak damage boost, thing damage boost, yada yada yada, is really, really strong. She also has a really good enabling team up with Loki, who's another incredibly broken character, with Groot, who's an incredibly broken character, with Emma, who's an incredibly broken character. So every single team up she enables is also really strong. The only way you can make this make an argument that this character could be stronger is if Star Lord was hard meta, and then she could have her own team up enabled. So that would make her absolutely broken, like absolutely the strongest character we have ever seen. But she's really, really strong, and there's almost an argument to make a specific tier just for Mantis. She is that oppressive and she is that strong currently. If she is open, you need to pick her. If she is not open, ban the fuck out of her, please. Next up, Rocket. Really strong. He is really, 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 really strong. Why? Front to back, everybody's group. You're in Narnia, healing everybody. Amazing. Your Rocket team up with the Squirrel Girl gives your cooldowns a refresh and gives other people cooldowns a refresh, like your Mag Bubble refreshes. We all know how strong Mag Bubble is. Give it more. On top of that, his Res Beacon, same thing. Reduce the cooldown. Res Beacon is really strong because you lose a fight, you lose a player, you can still win that fight because you keep that player. So you keep more space, you keep more time. You're not losing anything if somebody dies because of the rocket. His damage boost amplifier is really good to kill through. Like we said, how many damage boosts do we have? Mantis damage boost, Thing damage boost, Cloak damage boost. We have so many damage boosts now in the game, so killing through is that much easier. So the character is obviously going to be really, really good. And of course, the buffs that he received prior make his ult charge really quickly and make his damage in neutral really, really good. No reason not to pick a Rocket. And again, I would say the Squirrel team up is better overall, but you can still use the other one. I think both are kind of viable, the good one. Ultron. If Mantis wasn't in the game, he would be the best triple support character in the game. But she is, so he isn't. He is still really, really strong. He works really well with Mantis, especially now that she has as much healing as I mentioned, so you can easily pick him. He works really well in those stall comps and those hold space comps with the Penny due to the team up. Obviously, you're gonna use the Penny team up. The shield is really good. The damage he has is really, really good. The healing he has is good and neutral. So like, there's no reason not to pick Ultron. Like, if you can run Mantis, Ultron, Loki, what else do you need? You just permanently live, you don't die, you have a lot of healing, and you have a lot of damage. The character does his own thing. His ultimate, especially with the amount of damage boost we keep mentioning, is really good to kill through support ultimates. It can usually break your ult cycle. However, if you're in a triple support against 2-2-2 comp, and you see an invisible woman, you pop Rocket ult, you pop Ultron ult, you kill through a support easily. Or Cloak damage boost, Ultron ult, you kill through really easily, etc. So the character is really good. And like I mentioned, the Penny team up is always going to be better. It gives your entire team shields. It gives your entire team a burst of healing. So if you're standing on top of Penny Nest, if you're just basically pseudo immortal. You have a pseudo support ult going on, quite literally nonstop, and he's really good at damage boosting those off angle DPS like Elsa, etc., or Widow, etc. And now we have White Fox. I think White Fox is on the weaker side currently. She could be situational. She could be weaker. I'm gonna put her in situational now. The reason why is she is only good into heavy dive. Her front to back healing is way too fucking low. She didn't get compensated when everybody got nerfs for her healing reduction. So she just heals so little in neutral. And there's characters that just do her job better. I would want a Jubilee with the Hood team up every single time over her because the ultimate is better and the survivability is better. They recently gave it so that when she pops her ultimate, she gives CC cleanse to everybody on the enemy team, which is really good to counter stuff like Groot ultimate or like Thing ultimate and stuff like that if she doesn't get caught into it. So that she does have value. But again, I think she can only be picked in triple support and only be picked into some dive heavy comp. So that would be your overall support lineup. As you can see, it's insanely top heavy. Almost every single support is in quote unquote SS plus or A tier. And then you have a couple, just like 3 supports that are just like not good because they're more dive heavy or dive slash brawl heavy, which doesn't suit the meta. It's kind of poke slash front to back. So yeah, that would be your tier list for supports. Next up, we are going to talk about DPS. And we're going to start off with Black Cat. Black Cat is the single character that is keeping Dive alive. If this character got nerfed, Dive would basically effectively be completely dead the next day. She has the unique ability to dive and be completely self-sufficient. She doesn't need anybody else to die with her. She doesn't need any pocket. She has a lot of self-survivability. Now with the regenerative health that got introduced in the last season, she can survive much longer because she can reset so easily because of the iframes that she gets and because of the invisibility that basically has no wind up and no downtime. So you can consistently be invisible for as long as you need while having iframes and regenerating that regenerative health. On top of that, her burst damage is really strong, her ultimate is really strong, and she is the only character in the game that can solo dive. Only character in the game that can effectively solo dive in high elo against organized teams, and she is the only character that plays well in triple support. Only that character plays well in triple support because she can ignore them and she can burst through. That is the only value she has. She is incredibly strong. You can pick her in 2-2-2 to just like create disruption without even needing a venom. You can pick her in 2-1-3 as a solo DPS, get a lot of value because she just doesn't die and nothing dies in triple support. And you can pick her in any variation of comps, right? 3-1-2 as well. So she's really strong, and she's basically the one thing that keeps Dive alive. You can maybe even put this character in the must pick category, right? If in terms of if you want to run Dive, actually I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put her in must pick. If you are going to run Dive, this character is a must pick. There's no way around it. If anything in your comp necessitates Dive, you have to pick this character, otherwise you're not doing correctly. So she is that oppressive and that strong. And on top of that, as you can see, this top row, the must pick characters are going to be really good to ban as well. Except for Magneto, because you usually want to have the Magneto in your team, but you can ban him. And now, to completely have an opposite, we're going to have Black Panther, who is just terrible. People thought that he's going to be strong once the patch released because of the team up with Storm. Also, yeah, Black Cat, you want the Spider-Man team up all the time. It gives you 2 of the E abilities, which gives you more coins, more survivability, more everything, basically. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I think I didn't forget about any other character before. White Fox, I think both the team ups are actually good on White Fox. I've seen more so Black Cat with Black Cat if you run her dive, and more so Psylocke otherwise. But yeah, the character is just, I'd say Black Cat team up. I don't think I missed anybody else. Anyways, Black Cat. The Storm team up is obviously the good one. It gives you another mark. It gives you more burst. It gives you more damage. It got nerfed, so he doesn't actually 2-shot anymore. 2-shot 250 with it. So it's obviously much worse. And the character's always been bad. Even with the team up not getting nerfed, he's a pop stomper. He stomps players who are bad and who don't mark him. And that's about it. The character's not good. There's no value in BP right now. He's so easily counterable. And look at the characters that are meta. She does her Black Cat does his job better. Thing counters him completely. So does Emma. Ultron just doesn't care about him. Loki can lamp him. Mantis can sleep him. Gambit has the boop and the team up with Magneto, so he has his FE and the team up with Magneto. Invis can boop him. Rocket can just be in a position to not get marked by him. Luna can double CC him. Cloak can fade, bubble, even use the Luna team up if necessity. You're not killing Jubilee because of how much she can self-sustain. Adam similarly, etc., etc. Every single support that is good just doesn't care about BP. What supports is he good in? Jeff, and he's the worst character in the game. So like, there's no reason to pick him. BP is just bad, and like you said, the only team up you is worth using is the Storm one. Black Widow, a character we haven't actually talked about since the rework. She got completely changed, and I've seen a lot of debate from the get go. Is this character better? Is this character worse? Etc. And then we settled on the fact that yeah, this character is absolutely broken. We started banning her, and everybody who was complaining about her being weak, like Zaza Stack, like other Widow players, they're just objectively were wrong, and everybody. So yeah, Widow with the rework is actually one of the strongest DPS in the game. She's probably top 5. Why? Because her damage is just incredibly strong, and she has an insane rate of fire. So it's much harder to dive her now than before, because if a Venom dives her and she can hit some headshots, she is just going to melt him, for example. She has, again, the strongest off angle in the game because of her rate of fire and her being the hit scan. She can actually burst characters quicker than something like a Hela. She's really strong in that aspect. The character obviously has a lot of value in these front to back style maps, but she likes to take off angles. So like really long corridors, like second point in Wakanda, like Araco second point or third point, like Krakoa, stuff like that. Those types of maps that are like long, deep, and open. That's where Widow is going to excel at the most. The character also has insanely good carry potential, and if you heal her and damage boost her, she can one shot through anything with her ultimate. And did I mention Mantis damage boosts, Cloak damage boost, Thing damage boost, Rocket damage boost, Ultron damage boost, Jubilee damage boost, everything damage boost, Loki Lamps damage boost, everything damage boost. So you're one shotting stuff through ultimate, and the hitbox is really big right now, so it's much easier to do that. So Widow's really, really strong. The character is one of the best DPS in the game. If Elsa and Bucky are not in the game, you kind of have her as your best main DPS in the game. Next up, we have Blade. I think Blade is mediocre. He has the ability to play really well into triple tank and really well into triple support. And really well with triple support. However, if you run him with triple support, he's the solo DPS and his damage is too low. He doesn't have his gun, and his range is really bad. So his main value is from being really close. The Moon Knight team up gives him a lot more value, which is really strong, and gives his block more often. But it's really hard to slot him. You can build comps around him. You can win games with him. I think he is overall decent. He's mediocre, like I put him here, but I don't think there's a reason enough to actually pick him consistently that will make him a really, really strong, a really valuable character. Next up, Cyclops. Really weak. This character just got gutted. It's genuinely insane how quickly and how much destruction happened to this character effectively. He went from being a really, really good character, like one of the best DPS in the game, to one of the weakest within like 1 or 2 patches. The best team up is obviously the Phoenix one. But there's no reason to pick him. He just doesn't provide any value. There's so many characters that do his job better. The long range poke, you have Hela, who just beat someone on every single off angle. Burst on the tanks. You have Punisher. You have Bucky. You have Widow. You have Elsa. So there's no reason to pick him. He just is completely outclassed, and he doesn't have any single niche in the game. So like, this character just needs buffs in some way. But I never really liked his kit design. I didn't think he really brought anything to the game, just being another hit scan swap character. So like, I don't mind him not being in the meta, but he's just not valuable at all. Next up, Daredevil. I would say Daredevil is relatively strong. Uh, I think when Blackhead is banned and you kind of need dive, you kind of have to pick him. But he just dive isn't strong. He isn't strong, but naturally as a character, he's really good. He can win majority of 1v1s. He can contest Hela. He can contest Widow if he engages correctly. He can contest a Black Cat because he can see her. He can chase her. He can contest really good Psylocke. Like Psylocke, he's really good into Psylocke. That's kind of his main playstyle. If Psylocke is picked for that flank dive off angle type of playstyle, you pick Daredevil to hard counter her. That's kind of the main value of Daredevil and creating some pressure in the backline. But again, he can't do much in triple support. He can't overall dive. You can even put him down as a mediocre, but I think he has enough strengths and enough carry potential for majority of ranks to actually be strong enough. DPS Deadpool right here with really weak in the meta. Again, the character just doesn't have enough. He just doesn't do enough burst damage. He doesn't have enough quality. He doesn't have enough damage. And by the time he gets online, you're probably losing a lot of space or losing a lot of points. So like, there's no reason to pick him. As for team up, the Gambit one gives him a lot of burst, and then the Hela one on the swords gives him ability to shred some tanks. Really good players are still gonna make value with him because he's a mechanically incredibly intense character. But overall, there's just no reason to pick him because he's countered by the meta and countered by almost every single character. Similar story with BP, but he's a little bit stronger than BP overall. And now we have Elsa, another must pick. Probably the best. I mean, not probably, definitely the best DPS in the game. She's a must pick or must ban. If this character is open, you need to pick her. If she's not open, you need to ban her. She has the best front to back kit in the game by far because she has percentage damage on the tanks that pierces. She can hit multiple tanks. Everybody who's playing front to back is really susceptible to her. She has enough mobility to take off angles and focus on the backline. Her ultimate is just an insanely strong win con and combos well with every single thing we mentioned so far, with Magneto, with damage boost, with anything that you can think of. She combos with really, really well. So you have a character that has an insanely strong ultimate, insanely strong kit, is hit scan, has percentage based damage, and has a lot of mobility. She is overtuned and overkitted. However, her kit is so well designed that I feel like you need to rework her ultimate and keep the rest the same. And the character is going to be so much healthier because she is so incredibly. She's the highest skill ceiling potential in the game mechanically. So it's so incredibly fun to watch people like Terra, like Energy, do incredible stuff with this character. I think she is super healthy in that aspect of the game. You just need to rework that ultimate and maybe tweak some numbers slightly to still keep her really strong in the meta. So she's a character that's picked, but not this oppressive and not just there's just no reason not to pick her. And you don't want a character that's just one size fits all, like Mantis, like Mag, like Elsa. They need to excel at something. Next up, Hawkeye. Again, I think Hawkeye's really weak. I think there's potential for him to be picked. Also for Elsa, sorry. Dino team up is really good in contesting dive, at contesting angles, and like basically Elsa can go on a specific angle, specific height, pop her trap, and basically own that angle. That angle is hers. If somebody tries to contest her in melee range, she can just incredibly easily bop them. She's really good in 1v1s because she has a lot of burst damage, and it comes down basically to a skill check on that point, which Elsa usually can win if it's a good player. So yeah, use the Dino trap. It's just overall better. And with Dino on the team in certain situational aspects, she gets double the traps, which is really good. Hawkeye. On Hawkeye, you're going to be using the Psylocke team up. It makes his other ability actually viable, his other shooting ability, and makes his ultimate quite strong. However, he still has the exact same issue. His damage is quick bursts, not consistent, so he doesn't actually have the ability to pressure the tanks. Usually, with the setup of triple tank or triple support, you're not going to be in a position to actually shoot at the supports and get those like singular picks. And with how everybody is mobile and how immobile he is, they can just beat him on mobility. Like an Elsa, if she just engages on him, she can just effectively outlive him. Bucky's gonna have enough overhealth and then easily contest him. Every single tank can just walk at him, ignore him, and just kill him. He doesn't do enough damage, and his ultimate is fairly the only strong suit of his ultimate. But by the time he sets it fully up, he can actually dive through the ultimate quite quickly. Next up, Hela. Hela's in a really good spot right now. She got her long range sniper identity back. She is really good at off angles. She can contest them really well. And like I said, if Widow isn't open, she's your best off angle contest character. Her bird now gives her, she has a B hop and she can actually swing it around. So she has a lot more mobility and ability to survive. The Venom team up makes her really good into dive, like to anti dive it, and it's much easier to aim the team up. Her E ability, she can throw it now in a relatively straight line, so it's much easier for her to aim and then shoot afterwards. You don't need to flick your camera as much, which is really good for Hela, and it sets up her headshots. I think Hela is basically in the perfect state right now. I wouldn't touch her. She's really in a healthy spot. And like I said, the team up here would be the Venom one, and she has her spot in the meta. She's really strong. Next up, Torch. Is he weak? Is he situational? I would say he's situational if you're really good on Torch and if you build the God comp around him, if you have that Ultron Mantis, stuff like that, and you basically play for stall on point, something that TLC did. He's weak overall, though. I'm gonna leave him situational. I think the burst and the ability to just like one shot a support and completely be able to kamikaze with double damage boost is actually really strong. And he doesn't actually have that much poke um to like overwhelm the ult economy. So he's actually going to be able to play for that nuke playstyle really effectively. So yeah, there's moments where you can use him. Usually both of the team ups are bad, but you can usually use the Jubilee one, increase that burst damage a little bit more with a follow up. So yeah, the damage boosts are kind of what he needs, but like he is super situational. You need to play him for a specific team comp, and that specific team comp needs to be working for the character to actually have some value. Next up, Iron Fist. I think he's now mediocre. I think both of the team ups are really good. He has actual combo potential now, and he can actually isolate and kill the supports. He has the with Thing team up, and he actually has some sustain with his team with the White Fox team up. So he actually has some values to be overall picked. I think he's a much more engaging, much more dynamic character now than what he was before. And like I said, the main team up you would be using was with the Thing. With Thing active, it's even better. The combos are much stronger and the burst is much quicker. So you can actually play for a proper dive play style with him. And then you also, once you kill the supports, you actually have good burst in the front line. But again, excels from the same issues. He doesn't have a gun, so he can't shoot. His sustainability is conditional with his block, etc., etc., etc. So he has the same issues he had before, but now he's actually more dynamic and actually has some kill potential. So there's actual reason to actually pick him. Next up, Iron Man. Why would I pick Iron Man ever again? Character's terrible. He doesn't have enough in his kit. He's too slow. We saw some changes that they did in the Ultron game mode, and I really hope that they translate some of that into the main game. The continuous firing of the rockets, the faster speed of the flight, etc., etc., etc. But the character just needs more. He doesn't have anything. As for team ups, you would use a Thor team up. Long range is really good, but he also needs the pocket. He needs the Ultron. It's kind of a similar state with Johnny with Torch, where he needs the God Comp. He needs a lot of sustain built around him in order to actually create the value. And if you don't get that, you actually don't have enough value. However, Torch actually has a useful ultimate, whereas Tony's ultimate or Iron Man's ultimate can easily be blocked, and he doesn't have high burst. It's continuous damage, which can easily be out healed and just translates to enemy support ultra. Next up, Magic. She is mediocre overall. However, it's only with the hood team up and the enhanced team up. He makes her actually a viable character for a brawl, and her damage is actually really good. If you properly manage to hit the backline, you do enough damage to actually create a lot of space and a lot of value on that backline, which is actually really, really good. So the character is quite decent now. But she does need that enhanced hood team up to actually do that value. She lives, does damage, and all that. She still suffers from the same issue though. She doesn't have a gun. She needs to be in close range. Setting up her dive is weak. Her damage is really not that good into tanks overall. She's countered by the meta-defining tanks, etc., etc., etc. Triple support, she doesn't do well into that, etc., etc., etc. Like I said, the same issues with the character still apply, but they have a specific strength that can actually carry them. That's basically what happens in this mediocre tier and situational tier. They have a specific strength, and based on how good that strength is, they're going to be propped up in those two tiers. That's kind of what the point of that tier is like how good is that single strength for that character. Next up, we have Mr. Fantastic. Again, the character provides nothing. The Rocket, we can put him in really weak. You can actually pick him for those brawly, stally comps and domination, especially. He basically only has survivability, and with the Rocket team up now, it's actually decent. With the Rocket enhanced team up, his ultimate actually provides some CC and much higher chance that you can actually land the follow up shots, especially if you're in the lower parts of the map, so you don't jump too much. But like I said, the character still doesn't do enough damage. He's outclassed by every single thing that's higher in the meta. He just doesn't provide enough. But he's really weak. There's like no real reason to pick the character like at the moment, but you can still do it if you pick him. Moon Knight, I think, is on that do not pick tier. I think he's better than Iron Man, but his damage is going to nuke too much. He doesn't get his ultimate quickly enough, and he still doesn't have enough burst damage to warrant that. So like, he doesn't have burst damage to pressure supports or tanks enough, which means most of his damage just gets out healed, which then means that his ultimate is getting slowly charged, and his ultimate is still relatively weak. It's a space denial ultimate, which can usually be kited quite easily. And like I said, his damage is too low to actually create some proper pressure. And that's why characters like Bucky, like Punisher, like Elsa are going to do that job much, much better. Um, And the team up you're going to use with him is almost exclusively going to be the Cloak and Dagger one. The repositioning and the healing is really useful because his usual mobility is quite low. So you actually have some ability to set up an off angle, try and focus the supports. If you can actually hit some headshots with your right click and your primary, which is relatively hard because of the splash damage and the fact that it's a relatively small bullet with a slower travel time. That's going to make the character actually kind of be viable because you can disengage and get a self heal, etc., 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 etc. Next up, Namor. Again, situational hero. He counters specific heroes. He marks solo dive really well. He marks the Spider-Man. He marks the Iron Fist. He marks Torch. Like he BP, he's good for that type of scenario. You're gonna use the Gamma team up 100% of the time because it actually does some damage. It can create some pressure, and with Hela, you can have the Hela enhanced team up and actually do some stuff there. But it's not really that good. Again, he plays the team up with Hulk. Hulk's Gamma team up. Hulk is not good, so the Gamma team up is not going to be enhanced most of the time, etc., etc., etc. These are the usual issues. And now instead of having 3 squids like he could before, he can only have 2. So that's also a little bit of an issue. And like I said, his ultimate is really good at countering some stuff, but that stuff is usually not that strong in the meta, so etc., etc., etc. These are the issues with Namor. As per usual, his damage is still decent and neutral. His survivability is relatively decent in this front to back, but his bullets are really slow, and his actual burst damage and tanks is low, so he can actually pressure front to back. So, like I said, he's an off-angle anti-dive type of character. That's why he's situational. Phoenix is mediocre. Probably top of mediocre, but still mediocre. Her I'm gonna drop her to situational. Um, the more that I think about it, there's like no reason to pick a character like Phoenix when there's 2 characters that won't be banned as much. They just completely outclass her in terms of damage and capability. Her ultimate combo can now still do more damage in one shot, but it requires usually team boost. But with how much damage boost you can have, how easy it is to block the ultimate, it's usually getting broken nowadays, and her neutral damage is not strong enough to actually warrant her. Her big value is if she can play off angles and enhance the Venom team up. That type of thing is actually gonna give her decent value. And if you play this like double hit scan, you can run Phoenix and enhance the Widow team up. So that's the type of thing you can use. For her, you're always gonna use the Hela team up, and you can also run that hit scan sister lineup. And just like focus the off angles on the back line. But again, that's a weaker team comp overall. The poke comp is not that strong as front to back. So naturally, the character is going to be seen as weaker. I think she's overall situational because she kind of requires comps and requires specific stuff to actually be worth picking up. Psylocke. I think Psylocke is strong. I think Psylocke has her own points where she can actually have a lot of value and actually do something. She's really good at those off-angle fights. She was one of the strongest characters once this team-up thing dropped, but she has been since nerfed. She still has the ability to play those off angles. She kind of hard counters Ultron, which is really good. She's good into Rocket. She's good into Loki, in terms of like neutral, but the Loki lamps counter her. She can pressure both Mantis, and more so Gambit, relatively well because she doesn't need to get really, really close. She's not going to get affected by those changes. I think the better team up is probably Emma for the burst, but Cloak team up is also decent, so there's value there. And her ultimate is a potential win con. Once support ultimates are down, you pop the Psylocke ultimate, you have potential to kill through, but usually triple support and triple tank can sustain it, so there is that. Next up, Wanda. I think she's weak. I think she's overall weak. However, there is now with the team up, there is some potential for Wanda to actually be decentish. Her ultimate can actually get some value nowadays because the main shield tank is going to be Magneto. So like something like Strange isn't gonna get picked. Thing can't really stun her. Groot can't stun her. Emma can grab her if she's low enough. Penny usually can get the stun if she is in a position to do it. The Hood can just solo live it, etc. So there's like not that many stuns on that part. But Invis, Luna, Mantis, all those characters can easily pull her out. The DPS and the tanks can't, but it's mostly in the support's job. So if they aren't able to, she actually has some value. There's some combo potential, and it's front to back, so she actually fits the meta better than some of the characters below her. Because the new Strange team of the way it works, she actually has enough frontline damage where she can actually do some pressure. It's not that good. It's not overall that strong. It's still Wanda, but she isn't as bad as these other characters because she kind of the meta benefits her, even though she's not a strong character herself. You can maybe put her in really weak, but I think she's gonna be fine as the weak character. Spider-Man, situational. Uh, uh, Again, the point of the character is to dive. Dive is weak. He is a decent solo dive, but there's like two characters that completely outclass that. So there's no point in picking him. He dies really quickly. Proper dive and supports is basically impossible. Luna has two CC abilities, one that cleanses CC, both of which do a lot of damage and self healing. Invis has the push and the shield that's now stronger. Loki has the lamp and the teleport. Gambit has a lot of abilities like with the team up and the boop. Mantis has the sleep. Cloak and Dagger has the three abilities to ignore him. Jubilee self sustain enough is enough usually. So like the long pulls are the main thing you're playing for Spider-Man, but there are situations and there's mechanically gifted enough players that can actually pull some stuff up with him. His ultimate is also really easy to out heal now with how many team ups can just out heal it naturally with a little bit of patty caking while still providing support to the team. So that's main issue. As for the team ups, I've seen the Spideys use both Venom and use the Penny one. Probably the Penny one is better that I've seen from the burst, but the other one gives you more survivability, which he kind of needs because he's really bad. Squirgle, don't pick this character. She needs a complete rework. Her ultimate is terrible. Her damage is really hard to actually apply because of the trajectory of her shots. She can have a decent burst with the Iron Man team up because she can use a lot of animation cancels, right? She can shoot Acorn, shoot Acorn, shoot team up, shoot, right? She has a lot of animation cancels in that way. However, that burst is usually easily out healed. Majority of the tanks can just sustain it. Magneto can block it completely, so can Strange. So her pressure isn't that strong. And she requires a decent amount of mechanical skill because her shots are relatively hard to consistently hit, especially in moving targets, smaller targets, across long ranges, etc. The character needs a rework, she's just really weak. As for team up, you would usually use the Spider-Man one because it can actually slow down and confirm your shots more, but the Iron Man one has more burst and can maybe be easier to confirm some kills. Star Lord, I think Star Lord is he? I think he is mediocre overall. His burst damage is not strong. He's a more so of a dive flank type of character. He doesn't play that front to back as well. So there's really low value there, and his ultimate needs more to actually be able to kill through. Nowadays, especially the triple support and triple tank, it's much easier to just group up upon each other because you're already in a front to back scenario. So it's going to be much harder to get the value of the character. The team up you usually get here is Groot. It sustains that dive plays that really well. You pop the team up to wait for somebody to go in, and then you one clip them. You just don't shoot immediately. The character is mediocre, but he still has decent enough carry potential to where he's kind of mediocre. He's kind of decent because you can utilize him in those, like I mentioned, scenarios where you're running him in those like dive flank scenarios where you can actually get consistent support picks and 2-2-2. Storm, I think Storm is really strong. Um, I'm like almost willing to put her in meta defining with how strong that damage boost is and how you know what, fuck it. I'm putting Storm in meta defining. I know this might be sacrilegious, but I want to do it. I think this character's damage boost is so strong. Her being able to be hit scanned with some splash damage means that she can actually create some long range pressure and be relatively safe. Meta is front to back, and she's really great at building like punching through those stall comps, the 3-3, the 3-1-2, the 2-1-3. She's really, really good at creating enough value, enough front value to do that. The only thing that could possibly like bring her down is the ultimate, but that ultimate can still proc a lot of different cooldowns. And if nothing is up actually on the field with some damage boost from your team, which is like really prevalent, she can actually do a lot of value to it. It's mostly there to bait out and break cycles. That's kind of the main value of Storm and the damage and the hit scan. You've seen how much she was played during the Ignite series, and her win rate and pick rate is not really good. So like the character is in a really good spot. I think this character is gonna see even more of a resurgence once more people pick her up and start playing her in those like front to back comps. I think she's incredibly valuable. You can like since the MRC is going on right now, you're gonna see her 110% in those matches a lot. So like I think she's gonna be really good. Punisher, team up like I said, Thor team up hit scan. Don't use the Jeff one. Punisher Punisher is really good to play with that Storm. You run that front to back, you shoot down main, you create a lot of pressure, you build ults quicker. That's why you use Punisher. Since people are usually stacked up now on the front to back, you can actually use the Daredevil team up. I've seen it a lot, where you actually pierce through enemies rather than the specific team up of Rocket for like a brief amount of time. But if you have Rocket, you usually use the infinite ammo one to like pierce one target better. But the piercing through targets gives you quicker ult charge, gives you more overall pressure. It's really good into like a Luna Snow who can't actually heal everybody without the trap, etc. And like I was mentioning earlier, you can use both emotes. As I was mentioning earlier, Storm is another character with damage boost. Look how much damage boost we have. Cloak, Storm, Luna, Rocket, Ultron, Thing, Mantis, Loki. All of these characters have damage boost on their kits. And look how damage heavy the meta is on front to back. That is why these characters are all strong. Because of how much damage boost is in the meta, you need to have really, really strong front lines to live that. So the meta has to be this slow front to back type of thing. Next up, Bucky. Probably the second best main DPS next to Elsa in the game currently. He has so much pressure, he does so much damage, he actually has really good survivability. He basically can shoot infinitely with the Elsa team up. And if Elsa is on your team enhanced, it's even better. You have so much HP, you have like almost 450 HP, I think. You're basically contesting some of the weaker HP pool tanks. So your survivability is really good. You have a lot of damage down main, and you're basically perfectly suited for this meta. There's a lot of damage boost. There's a lot of shooting tanks that are like stacked on top of each other. So you have the splash damage from Bucky. He gets ultimates quickly. He can kill through support ultimates with the damage boost and with his ultimate. The character is really good. And finally, we have Wolverine. Wolverine is probably in that contesting for like the second best flex DPS in a way, compared to like Storm and Black Cat. He has displacement ability. His ultimate is really good. Um, the team up with Gambit is the one you're going to use. It's going to give you even easier setups for your grabs. And then when you do use the grabs, it's going to be really strong to like pull people in. Now they recently buffed him. He gets a lot more ult charge. Triple tank is strong, so he's strong. He gets his rage quicker. So again, triple tank, it's strong. He does more damage to the tanks. He gets more quicker ultimates. He does more ultimate damage, etc., etc., etc. We saw how useful this character was when Jerky, when he played in Ignite, he got buffed since the meta actually favors him even more now, etc. The only weakness is he's kind of weak into Thing, but he's really good into Groot, decent into Emma, really good into Mag, decent into the Hood, really good into Venom, etc. So like he fits the meta really well. The only issue is the character's a little bit buggy, and it's not as consistent, especially on ping. And overall, the meta is front to back guns, so he can actually get poked out really well. And he doesn't slot well into triple support, which is really strong. But he slots well into triple tank, like against it, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, this would overall be the season 9.5 tier list. Some stuff could be maybe moved slightly up or down. The main points are the ones that I was making rather than the actual list itself. It is incredibly, incredibly crazy how top heavy the meta is. There's 2 DPS, 3 supports, and a tank in the must pick category. And these, as you can see, if you play the game, these are usually your picks and bans. Maybe besides Loki, because he, for some reason, has a low pick rate, but like he's incredibly strong. I hope you see him more because he's a strong character. And then Thing also can be banned. I've seen Ultron bans. I've seen some Widow bans and some Bucky bans and some Rocket and Cloak bans. This would and then usually Hood because he disables a lot of different support cycles. So that would be your kind of your pick ban type of scenario. These are your top 2 rows. Then the third row enables specific comms. Fourth and fifth row, these are situational. Once the comp suits it, they can actually excel in certain categories. Weak, they can be played. They're just not going to get much value. They excel at something, but that one thing isn't really beneficial to the meta. Really weak, they don't excel at something, and it's not beneficial to the meta. Do not pick the character, just doesn't bring any value and is really weak. That would overall be the tier list. As for everything else, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like, subscribe, do the whole getting to boodle, and I've started streaming more often on Twitch, so you can see some of my own gameplay there. And once again, I apologize for not doing a 9.0 tier list, but I wasn't really performing really well during the 9.0 season, and I usually want to be in that top 0.1% of the player base. in order to make these tier lists. So I hit Eternity, I hit top 700, and I've been doing a lot more work with my team as coach. So it's actually been really good, and I can actually give you some like decent constructive opinions here. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's quite long, and yeah, see you in the next one. Goodbye.